Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has urged other European leaders to step up their nation's own defenses and coordinate those efforts with the rest of Europe. He told the World Economic Forum in Davos that shift will require beefing up military spending, especially now that Europe may not be able to rely on support from America's new president. Zelenskyy suggested the U.S.-European security relationship wasn't seen the same way on both sides of the Atlantic.
In times of war, everyone worries, will the United States stay with them? And every ally worry about that. But does anyone in the United States worry that Europe might abandon them someday, might stop being their ally? The answer is no. Washington does not believe Europe can bring them something that is really substantial.
Our correspondent, Ben Fajzullin, joins us now from Davos. Ben, a rather extraordinary approach from Zelenskyy. His speech was aimed at those attending, of course, but also those watching from a distance.
Exactly. Instead of coming here to Davos and pleading, getting down on his knees like he did other years and asking for more weapons from Europe, he came to Davos this time provoking Europe, flipping around the way people think and telling Europe to start thinking about how it could stop a war rather than putting all the onus on the US. He said he would like to talk about Europe and that who's watching Europe with all eyes on Washington. How does Trump plan to stop the war? What about Europe? And Europe needs to know how to defend itself to start that ball rolling. He said it needs its own version of Iron Dome, referring to Israel's state-of-the-art, top-class defense systems. He also said Europe needs a united EU defense policy, and that although the US is the military biggest military supporter for Ukraine, I do have to point out, of course, that Europe is the biggest financial supporter. So he is just provoking Europe here, but trying to get Europeans to think a little differently.
And in his provocation, also doing it as a way of advising. Are Europeans ready to receive advice from the Ukrainian president?
I think Europeans need to be open to that advice. I mean, here's a leader with a lot more experience when it comes to fighting off an onslaught like the Russians. For example, he listed the 800,000 soldiers that he has that have experience in fighting a war, many more soldiers than what France has or Germany. He also mentioned the unique drones that Ukraine is building at the moment and the ammunition that it's producing much cheaper than many countries. So the question is not just whether or not Europe can protect itself, but Europe looking towards Ukraine for protection as well. He says Ukraine is in a very good position to do just that.
You know, he wasn't only focused on defense and security and containment of Vladimir Putin, but also technology and European regulations. What did he say about non-defense issues?
He said that the world will move ahead without Europe if Europe doesn't establish itself as a global player. He said Europe needs to catch up on technology. It needs to cooperate on a lot more things, not just defense, as you mentioned, but also technology and competition.
Ben Fajzullin, right there at Davos. Many, many thanks.